Welcome back to another episode of our Carnivore Diet series. Today I have a special guest, Anita. My daughter Emma and I have been watching your YouTube channel lately. We've really been enjoying it. My daughter Emma was vegan for 5 years and she quit.
Wow.
She's on day 15 now of being a carnivore. And so I had to expand my cooking and recipe skills horizon a bit with her. So we've really been enjoying your website and your YouTube videos for sure.
Oh, amazing for her. I'm so happy.
Me too. She's like a totally different person now. She was not getting enough nutrition being a vegan, especially the last couple of months or so. Could we maybe just start off? You could maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and Ketogenic Woman, kind of your
Sure.
story.
Yeah, so I started this journey just going low carb. I didn't really know about keto and certainly not about carnivore. But I did know that I should cut carbs because I had had some experience with the Dr. Atkins protocol back in the 70s. And back then it was very fringe to lower your carbs. Yeah, it was dangerous. So, you don't tell people that what you're doing because they get all weird about it. But that's how I started. And in 2013, I started, I think around 2012-ish, 320 at that number. I'm just going to go by then. I had heard about keto, but it was mostly on websites that were geared to men and bodybuilding. And that's why I started my website, because I thought there's got to be other women out there who could use this. And so that's where I started. It was pretty dirty keto, I have to say, because I didn't know any better. I just knew I had to cut the carbs and up the fats and the protein. So that just was the beginnings of the evolution, to low carb, to keto, ketovore. Somewhere in there I heard about carnivore, tried it, and thought, okay, well, it works, but I just wasn't ready for it at the time. So I went keto, carnivore, and now I'm keto, ketovore, and now I'm carnivore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite a journey. I'm really impressed with you because I've watched several of your videos and I've really been enjoying your Tuesday talk videos as well. It seems like you've kind of experimented your way into this versus me and a lot of others. We're more fortunate to have, YouTube and other people sharing their testimonies like, hey, I did this and it worked. But it sounds like you were trying sort of all sorts of different diets and kind of worked your way into keto. Is that right?
Yes, that is so true. I've been a professional dieter since the age of about 12. When my mom dragged me into a Weight Watchers meeting at that
Oh,
point.
wow. So beyond keto and carnivore, you've done lots of other diets, right?
Oh yes, yeah. On one of my Tuesday talks, I did share my personal journey and all of the diets that I've tried in the past. Well, I didn't even touch on all of them, just the highlights or the lowlights, if you prefer. But yeah, I did them all. I did them all. Paid lots of money for lots of things, and did everything. This is the only thing that has worked for me.
Likewise. Yeah, same for me. Although I haven't done as many diets as you, but I feel like I've tried everything, even extreme things like water fasting. I did a 3-day water fast, a 5-day water fast. I had some really good success on keto, but I still had lots of other issues besides my weight, arthritis and sleep. I had horrible sleep issues and things like that. And carnivore is really the only thing that seems to help with all of those things for me.
Your 30-day video, and because of that video, I've actually decided that in June I'm going to go back to the lion diet for 30 days. And I want to do that because the last 6 weeks or so have been really hectic. I've eaten in a lot of restaurants. I was on a 2-week road trip. I've had some relapse of some skin issues like rosacea. And I'm just having some things have come back that have been gone for a long time. And so your video inspired me to think about doing that, and I'm going to do that. I'm trying to work through all my chicken and pork and fish in the freezer.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. I love hearing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I really have enjoyed watching your channel. You seem to be, you're doing carnivore, but you're in different spectrums of carnivore, testing things out. Like I was watching a while back and you were doing like the higher fat version for a while. How did that go?
Well, I did 90 days of super high fat. I mean, even higher than 80-20. And what I discovered, I did not lose any weight during that 90 days. I did not gain any weight. I mean, I stayed literally within a pound, the same weight. However, I discovered during that time that I was able to eat approximately 2,000 calories a day without it affecting my weight. And I feel like I did a lot of healing during those 3 months. I don't have any proof of that, but it's just my feeling, because other things improved, like my sleep improved a lot. I was getting, I do track my sleep on my Fitbit. I was getting much better scores doing that. I found the motivation to join a gym. And so now I go to a fitness class 3 times a week. I do things here at home. My mental health improved. And I think maybe it's because of my age. I'm 65, and I feel like women in my age group do benefit from a higher fat version of carnivore. Now, that said, I mean, I didn't quit high fat. I'm sort of in the 70 to 80% range now, which is higher than what I was doing before I tried the high fat. I was more like about 60% fat at that time. So I'm not going all the way up except for the occasional fat fast, but I am eating higher fat than I was before, and I feel it's a benefit.
Yeah, the sleep thing you mentioned, that's been the biggest game changer for me. So I'm on day 65 now.
Yeah, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. It's amazing how much better it's been getting. You mentioned my 30-day update. I felt amazing. I was like, I have to tone it down a little bit because people think I'm exaggerating all of the changes I've had. But at day 65, it's even more. I feel so much better. And I'm finding too that as I've increased my fat intake, because I think that's one of the hardest things people struggle with going on carnivore. Yeah. And I found that in the beginning, it was very hard for me to get enough fat. And now I feel like I'm craving it more. Like I'm listening to my body, and my body's like, yes, finally, after 42 years, you figured out what I need. Because when I have that fat, I feel like I sleep so much better. And then there's so much subsequent things after that because of the better sleep. Like you mentioned, more energy. Like, oh, I got to work out. Like I have excess energy I have to burn off somehow. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then, women in my age group, we were taught to fear fat. I mean, butter was a swear word to most of us back then. And I talked to women. A lot of my followers are women in my age group and older. And there's still that fear there. It's huge. It's been ingrained in us, and so it can be a big step for someone to raise their fat with animal fats. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I have so much respect for you and anyone going on this diet, because you're literally going against everything you've ever been told.
Yes.
In a world where everybody is doing the opposite. Like everywhere we go, the grocery stores, everywhere, it's just sugar and carbs and everything. So it's like I equate it to like a drug. It's like if I was addicted to cocaine and I quit cocaine, but everyone in the whole world was still doing it, man, it'd be so much harder. But that's kind of what it's like. But yeah,
it is.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention too is, so my mom is in her 60s, and I think around day 15 of me being on carnivore, she decided to try it too. And it was very difficult for her, just like you mentioned, because everything she's been told and with fat and everything, but she's just been thriving. It's kind of similar to what you said. She didn't really do it to lose too much weight. She has lost weight, which she's enjoyed, but she had arthritis in her knee and skin issues and so many other things. That's been I'm interested to learn from you because you've lost so much weight, which is incredible. But outside of the weight loss, what other things have you experienced?
Oh, it's funny because there's things that people mention that I completely forgot. They've been gone so long, I completely forgot. So plantar fasciitis, I suffered from that. I mean, I would get out of bed in the morning and the pain was excruciating, in my feet. And I can't even remember the last, I would say it's been 3, 4, 5 years since it started to go away doing ketovore. Like it improved a lot, and zero of that anymore. I was on a medication for 15 years for acid reflux. I'm no longer on that medication. So that was another one. I probably avoided a type 2 diabetes diagnosis because I here are I'm in Canada. So here you really have to fight for every type of a lab test. So I've never had my fasting insulin checked, and you only get other things once or twice a year. I wish that I had beginning labs. So I feel like I still have insulin resistance going on, and I feel like a person who has spent a good part of their adulthood 300 plus pounds has got to have some issues going on down there that you don't even know about.
Right.
And I kind of feel like that's one of them. But yeah, I'm on zero medications for anything of any kind.
Wow.
So I feel like that's not bad.
That's really good. Yeah. It's funny how you say that you've kind of forgotten about those things. That's one thing that I kind of worry about for myself. It's kind of a weird thing with the human brain, how things become normal to us. Just like
I know.
before eating sugar was normal to me. And now I'm really hoping that some of these amazing benefits I've been feeling, I'm like, someday if I keep doing this, it's just going to be normal. It's going to be, so I'm trying to be grateful and appreciative and write things down. And that seems to help me. But it's funny as I keep going on, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this has improved too. Like I just noticed last week, my sense of smell has returned. When I had COVID 2 years ago, I haven't been able to smell since. And
wow.
first time
That's
in 2 years.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
my smell's back. There's just so many things like that. It's kind of unbelievable.
Well, many of the things too are very subtle, small things that, they're not, you may not necessarily have been on a medication for it, or it's in your face all the time. But, there's times when I go, oh yeah, I used to get that pain in this joint when I did this, and then you realize it's not there anymore. So some of these things are very gradual.
Right.
You seem to have had a lot of sudden ones though, which is great.
Yeah, I've been talking to so many people since I've lost weight. People have been coming out to me like, hey, you lost a bunch of weight. And then I start telling them like, yeah, that's great. But if I could go back in time 65 days and have not lost any weight, I would still totally do the carnivore diet for all the other benefits. And they're like, well, what were those benefits? I was like, well, I had irritable bowel syndrome. I had the acid reflux like you did, horrible sleep, depression, really bad anxiety all the time. And I've listed like these 6 things off. I've had this conversation with 3 or 4 people now, and almost every one of those people are like, you sound just like me. I have all of those things. It's like I'm walking around with all of those things right now. So I think it's a lot more prevalent with people, and yeah, it just becomes normal always having like
It does. It's like when you're in the fog, sometimes you don't realize you're in the fog until you walk out into the clearing. It's all of these things are there, and we think, oh, it's part of aging. Like menopause is a perfect example. The only reason that I knew that I had gone through menopause is because my cycle stopped. All those other symptoms that they give you medications for, I haven't had any of them yet, and I'm a few years post menopause. So it's an interesting phenomenon. People assume that these things are normal aging.
I'm so happy you mentioned that. That was one of the questions I had for you. I had a gentleman on my channel about a week ago. His name was Ron, and really cool guy. He's 71 years old, and he's been doing carnivore for 5 years. and he's just a picture of good health. He goes to the gym every day, and
I saw that one. I was wondering if it was the same one that I saw. And now that you say the gym, I was impressed about his gym attendance.
yeah, and he's just doing great. And he was saying, I feel so sorry for my friends and people I meet at the gym that are my age, because most of them aren't at the gym, but people his age, because they're just not in that good of health.
Right.
And so it got me thinking more. I'm like, I wonder how much of growing older and feeling old is age versus the nutrition.
I wonder the same thing myself. You don't hear about doctors prescribing medications for someone going through hormonal changes such as puberty, but you certainly hear about it for women going through menopause. Oh, we need to fix that with medication. Maybe it can be fixed with a proper human diet. I believe it can. So, I would encourage anybody to take a look at it.
That's one of the things I've really started to realize more here. I was looking, I think I'm going to do a video, but I have all of my pills from over the last 10 or 15 years from all those things like you mentioned, like acid reflux and depression and irritable bowel syndrome and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking there's so many health issues that were entirely just my diet and the food that could have been fixed by the food. But it's never happened, because you go to a doctor and the only thing is pills, pills, pills. I've never had a conversation with my doctors about nutrition, and now all these years later, almost every one of those things are cleared up just on a couple of weeks of doing carnivore diet and eliminating all those foods I was eating before.
Yeah. I had some lab work done in the fall, and it was the first time I had actually seen my doctor since pre-COVID, because they were only doing phone appointments and all that kind of stuff. So I went to see her. She sent me for all the lab work I had missed over the last 5 years. And I had gone back in for a follow-up on my eyes, because my eyes are one of the problems I've been, having some trouble with, along with the rosacea. Anyways, she mentioned my lab work, and she said, yeah, nothing here, everything looks great. And she said, but you are eating vegetables, right? And I kind of, I didn't want to lie. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I ate that pickle. And I went, yeah, I'm eating vegetables.
Right.
It's so hard to talk to most doctors about this.
Right. I'm hoping that they will start coming around, though. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it seems like in 20 years or something, we're going to look back and be like, wow, what were we doing back then with all the sugar and processed foods? And it's always such a mystery too, that right now heart disease and strokes and diabetes and everything is just going up, up, up as people consume more of that. But everyone's just like, I don't know what's going on.
Having some real meat, and I have nothing against people doing keto. I don't, I think it's a great place to start. Having those real foods is such a big step in the right direction. Most of the grocery aisles are just full of stuff that we should not even be looking at. Mm-hmm. Frankenfoods.
Your YouTube channel, you have lots of keto and carnivore recipes.
So, I do, because when I started the channel, I was still doing ketovore. And now if my last year, I guess, of recipes, you'll see that they're carnivore. Right. Which some people complain about, but I can only share what I'm doing.
Right. I think that's great, because that's the journey most people take. I've had a couple of people say, I want to do carnivore. I'm like, you should probably ease into it, start with keto, and then work your way into it. That's how I did. I've been on and off keto for quite some time. When did you start your channel?
In COVID. It was sort of a COVID project. Wow. So because I had the website already for a number of years, and I've had a few people, say, "Oh, you should put this recipe on YouTube. You should go on YouTube." And I just thought, then people are going to see me. But once I started doing it, I really liked that connection with my audience more. It helps me as much as they say I'm helping them. It's a two-way thing. And now I just love that I'm on YouTube. I really do. I'd like it better than the website is just so impersonal. You can't impart everything in a written blog post. I just love it.
That's awesome. I can tell too. It for anyone watching out there, you really have to check out Anita's channel. You do such a great job on there too. I've been doing YouTube. I just hit 500 videos, but outside YouTube, my wife and I, we do videos for companies, and just the quality on your channel. It's like, I'm being sincere here. The quality on your channel is just great. It's like you're watching something on the Food Network or something like that.
Oh, thank you. That is not me. I give all that credit to my camera / editing person. She's a member of my family who was like a musician that could not do any gigs during COVID. And so we just started talking one day, and, we both needed something extra to do. So we're actually partners in this YouTube venture. And the edit, I can't take credit for the editing or the camera work or the sound. It's all her. And she wants to be anonymous and all this, though. So that's why, that's great. And all I do is come up with the next thing that I'm going to do, and then the magic happens.
Right. You can take credit for the hosting though, and you do a heck of a job. It's such a fun channel to watch because you're very calm and pleasant, and it's nice. It's really nice watching it. So I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any aspirations or goals going forward for the channel? Like, I know this is kind of out there, but it would be so amazing because you're seeing more keto food in all the grocery stores and everywhere like that. We need a cooking channel like on the Food Network or something like that. Or do you have any aspirations for something like that?
That idea just terrifies me. I have been thinking about doing maybe a carnivore book of some kind. But a cooking channel I can't say I have thought of that. It's a little bit, it is a little bit out there, but I never say never to anything, because I once thought I would never go on YouTube.
Right.
And yet here I am. And, I never say never. You just never know what might happen. But, my goal for the channel, I guess this is sort of, my ongoing goal is just to make it more accessible to people, especially carnivore. Because when I first started thinking about carnivore, I just couldn't imagine just eating meat for the rest of my life. It did not seem like a possibility. And the women that are my age that are, coming to me, they're feeling that same way themselves, because they see on YouTube the younger, more fit people eating nothing but large quantities of meat, like large quantities of meat. And they're like, that scares me. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can last 2 days. So, I get a little bit of flack for some of my recipes replicating, real food. But at the same time, I think many people need that on a day-to-day basis. I eat fairly simply, but every now and then I'm like, oh, carnivore pasta. I think I'll have some today.
Right. I get it too, because I remember when I first heard about carnivore, I was like, this is insane. There's no way. How are you going to eat meat every day? I don't know if that was probably your similar thought too.
It was.
Right. But in retrospect, it's so hard to explain to someone. It's like, you just got to give it a try. I don't know what else to say, because in retrospect, even a couple of weeks into it, it's like, this isn't really insane at all. In fact, it's like, it's better in every way. I'm eating less food and I'm feeling 10 times better than I was before. And everything, like, if you just listen to your body, that's what's really been helping me. It's just like, every time I eat it, I'm like, everything feels better. It's just what I need. But yeah, you're right. That's a huge thing to overcome.
It is. And then a lot of people are also feeding other family members, like, with your daughter. you know, and I have women say to me, well, you know, I can't get my husband to do it. Thank you so much for the, you know, for the quiche or for the pasta noodles or for the carnivore breads. If it wasn't for that, my husband would not do it, because they're cooking for somebody else who also feels that way. And so I feel like if that can help them get, you know, into a proper human diet, why not? You know, what is wrong with that? I mean, I have these things very rarely myself. I'm happy now with a steak every day or some kind of beef every day. That does not bother me at all. But in the beginning, it was a frightening thought. Like, how can I make that happen for, you know, a long time? It's not sustainable, but it is once you start eating that way and your body says yes.
Yes. And you know, the other thing that I've seen recently, and I don't know if it was because the video I did with Ron, the 71-year-old, he's been on carnivore for 5 years, but I've had so many comments, dozens and dozens of comments from folks that were Ron's age, 60s, 70s and beyond. And so many of them are like, I've been doing carnivore for 5 years now. It's amazing. And they're putting all their stats on. And I couldn't believe how many, in my head, I would just think that it's kind of the older folks might be set in their ways and not doing it, but lots of them that had just started, maybe due to you or your channel, but lots of them that are starting in their 60s or even 70s and just thriving on it. It's really amazing.
I get those comments too. I'm blown away by some of the comments, you know, oh, I've been doing carnivore for 3 years. And some of them I haven't heard from them ever before, but they say, I've been watching you for, you know, 2 years, or, you know, I make this all the time or that recipe all the time. Thank you so much, because it, you know, it's helped me stay the course, kind of thing. And wow, that just, you know, that makes it all worthwhile for me. It really does.
I think there's so many more, like in my little bubble here, I don't know anyone else carnivore other than people I've been talking to online.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's similar for you, but in my circle, there isn't anyone. Most of them think I'm just a complete crazy person. But the more I've been doing some videos and talking with other folks and seeing all these comments come in, it's like, I think there's a lot of carnivores out there. Like, I might be in the store and maybe there's another carnivore in there, but they're probably kind of like me and a little bit undercover, because it's just not.
They're in the closet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's almost, I say to people, the only negative I've experienced on carnivore is just that social part of it. And it's totally worth it, but it's not worth like explaining to people or trying, oh, you're eating meat, you're going to die of a heart attack, and getting in those conversations. How do you deal with that? Or do you bother?
It's hard. You know, I know that sometimes I have been in situations where, especially a work situation is the hardest for me, because there can be a lot of judgment, and there's people that I work with that are still clinging to the 80s low-fat dogma, you know, salads with naked chicken breast, that kind of thing. And I have been known to put vegetables on my plate and just push them around to make it look like, you know, it's been chewed on or whatever, and I just eat the meat. And you know, and the other thing I will say, well, I'm on an anti-inflammatory diet, or I'm dealing with some food sensitivity right now, you know, just to avoid all that. Now, that said, in BC, where the province where I live in Canada, there's a really good Facebook group of BC carnivores. And so I would encourage anyone to look and see in their state or province, maybe there's something like that. And I have gone to meetups with some of these people in restaurants. This past Monday, a few of us were in a park because it was the long weekend. And it's so good to gather together with like-minded people and see their eyes light up when you talk about what you bought at your last sale. I bought brisket for $3.99 a pound at this place. And, you know, it's so fun to meet with people who get it.
That's really cool. Yeah, I have to find a group like that, because I would love to do that. One thing I've noticed, I've talked to quite a few carnivore folks just online, like yourself and others, and every single one of them, they just seem like the happiest, most pleasant, nice people, just calm. And maybe it's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's the carnivore or what, but it's what it seems like. So yeah, I
There's
don't know if it's,
something zen about eating the meat, I think.
I'm so happy for anyone that takes over and decides to, I keep saying, be the captain of their own ship and, take control, not being controlled by the food anymore, whether they're doing it vegan or keto or carnivore. I think it's awesome. One thing I found myself doing lately, and I'm not trying to be mean or judging anyone, but I'll be at like the gas station. I'll see someone come out with like a Monster drink or something. I think it's just empathy, or I'm thinking of that as myself. And I'm like, geez, it's just not a good idea. Over and over again, like, that's just not a good idea. That's not going to end well. I kind of feel bad for people, but ultimately, I don't think there's really anything we can do other than get the message out here. And then when someone's looking for it, hopefully they can find it.
It's hard to watch this, and especially if it's members of your family or friends, it's really hard to watch that happening. But I was at KetoCon, and Dr. Ken Berry gave a keynote speech there, and one of the things that he said just made me laugh out loud, and I could totally relate to it. He said, those people that stand on the corner with the big sign, come to Jesus kind of thing. Has that ever worked for them? We have to be careful not to be that person. Carnivore is it, approaching everybody that we know, trying to push carnivore down their throat. He said it was better to be the example.
Right.
Be the example, and hopefully, say what you're doing if you're not too afraid at work like I am, but be the example. People will start to notice. They will when they're ready. You have to be ready to make such a huge lifestyle change.
Yeah, that's great advice. I totally agree with that. I believe you can't really change anyone else. They have to make that decision on their. One thing I heard you say on your channel that kind of touched me a little bit and hit kind of close to home. You were saying at the start of your weight loss journey, you were kind of thinking like, what the heck is wrong with me? Why can't I lose weight? I've been there too. Like, how do you feel about that now, years later?
Well, there's that old saying that information is power, but it's not enough power when you are under the spell of sugar and other addictive carb substances. I knew what I needed to do. I could never have the power to do it. It just, I would try a diet for a couple of days, 3 days, 4 days, maybe even a week, and ultimately fail. And I feel like I just didn't have the proper information. I did not know that the carbs I was eating were actually feeding the hunger and making me, and I guess my body chemistry is one of those types that just, carbs, yes, give me more, give me more, give me more. And having those just gone, like especially going 0 carb. And I mean by that, because some animal foods do have carbs, people point that out to me, and I know, but 0 plant carbs, even if the protein has some carbs, that seems to be the magic chemistry for me that has no cravings, no thoughts of food. Other people can be sitting at the table with me eating their cake and ice cream or whatever. I'm totally okay with it. It's like this Zen feeling, like, oh yeah, you're eating that, I'm eating this. And I just didn't have that before.
Right.
And I feel like it's a failing of something. I mean, our society seems to really value carbs. I mean, people question what I eat now, but would they ever have questioned the number of times I could go through a drive-through in it and eat McDonald's? No, that's normal. But
Right.
Eating 2 meals a day of meat, wow, that's fringe. Yeah.
For me, I don't know, that kind of resonated with me, and I wanted to scream. I'm like, it's not you. It's the carbs. You're addicted to sugar. You were brought up that way.
Oh, I watched my mom deteriorate so rapidly once she hit her senior years. After a life, I mean, she was kind of a sugar addict, and and a dieting addict as well. Much like I grew up, kind of like her, which makes sense. And I just, it makes me wonder, would she have gotten Alzheimer's and dementia? Would she have, she had it all, the high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high risk for stroke with her diabetes. That was the other one. I mean, she had it all. And you don't do well when you're up in your 70s and 80s when you have those going on. So it kind of makes me wonder what people right now in their 30s, 40s, 50s are setting themselves up for later. I feel like these are things that can catch up to you later. And so I feel fantastic. I've never felt better. I mean, I definitely feel better than when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. Definitely.
That's so good to hear. I have so many people that are completely new to keto carnivore asking questions. If you could kind of, if one of your family members, one of your kids said, "Hey, I'm going to do carnivore," what advice would you give them?
Carnivore right out of the gate, I would, like you, maybe suggest that they ease into it over, say, 30 days or 60 days. Because there's also this issue of oxalates I've been hearing about and possibly suffering from. And I kind of think that it can happen to people who go hardcore. Although I've certainly heard of many who go from standard American diet to hardcore, no ill effects. Sally Norton, who is the oxalate queen, she says it can happen 2 years into carnivore. This is very common. So that would kind of be a caution I would have about jumping in wholeheartedly. And, probably lots will disagree. I mean, if you feel like you have to jump in all the way, then go for it. But just know about some of the things, like you could have some loose stools. It's not going to be easy. And I also want to say that if you do it for 30 days, I don't feel like that's enough. I feel like a true test would be 90 days, because those first 30 days, you're going to feel your worst. Now, you didn't seem to have that. I saw you saying that you felt like Superman and, or a superhero. And that's amazing. And maybe it's a testament to the fact that you started keto first.
I was going to say, I was going to say, I should have that disclaimer on there for people. And I've been on and off keto for years. So I think it really helped me ease into it. But
I kind of think that while some people can, that, just know that if you're going from standard American to 100% carnivore, there's going to be some discomfort for those first 30 days. And you may not feel better until you're into it just a little bit longer. So, I would encourage them to never give up. Even if sometimes you give in, never give up. That is my mantra. That's been my mantra for years. I mean, there's times I fall. None of us are perfect. There's times I, have the thing I know I shouldn't have. And it happens. We're human, but don't ever give up.
I've heard you say starting YouTube, you were very nervous, but it's a huge reward now. You're helping so many people, all the comments coming in. And then I heard you say on your Tuesday talks too, you were kind of nervous about doing that. And now it's one of the greatest parts of your channel is the Tuesday talk. So yeah, I bet you if you do live streams, you're going to be saying the same thing afterwards.
Oh, thank you. I was so nervous to do a Tuesday talk because at least with cooking, I have things that are distracting my brain from saying, "Oh my goodness, it's just me and the camera." And that makes me really nervous. But when you're cooking something, there's a lot keeping you busy there. It's a good distraction. So I was so nervous to do the Tuesday talk, and I talked to another YouTuber about it, and she said, "Oh no, you should. Sometimes it's great just to talk and connect with the people who follow you." And I have people who, if I miss a Tuesday, I have people who comment on some of my other videos was there a Tuesday talk this week? and so I'm like, okay, I'm going to make that a priority to try to get that done every, at least one Tuesday talk every week. Well, it was only one Tuesday, but you know what I mean. Like, just
Right.
make that a priority and just keep doing them, because I do enjoy doing them now, whereas before I was a little scared.
That's the number one question over the last month. I've had thousands of comments come in. What do I eat? What do I eat? What do I eat? Go to her website, YouTube. There's the answers. My answer is just, I don't know, a steak and some ground beef. That's about it. But I'm doing a lot more of your recipes with my daughter, Emma. So head on over to her website. There's so many good ideas over there. There's so many more things you can eat than I ever would have thought on carnivore. So
there really is. There truly is. And, you know, sometimes when people are struggling, you know, if they fell off the day before or whatever, and they say, what do I do? I just say to them, you know what, your next meal, have some bacon and eggs. It's easy. Just have some bacon and eggs. It's fast. It's easy. It's going to just kind of, you know, make you feel good. And then you can move on from there. And I feel like that's a really easy, safe place to start with your first meal if you're struggling to think about what to do.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite go-to. Emma's as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, Anita. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for asking me to be here. I was really looking forward to this day today. So
yeah, thanks. And good luck on the new house.
Thank you. I'll need it.
Have a good day. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.